New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
New Thought Media Network is excited to present Divine Science Everywhere, Fridays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time and 4 p.m. Eastern. Come explore a modern experience of divine science with Reverend Joy Fletcher, Reverend Jeff Radcliffe, and Bishop Durrell Watkins. Join us as we open our eyes to divine science everywhere we look. Fridays on New Thought Media Network.
Welcome to episode 15 on Divine Science Everywhere on New Thought Media Network. Divine Science Everywhere features divine science ministers as well as other New Thought guests as we discuss divine science principles. I'm Reverend Joy Fletcher, and I happen to be serving as the president of Divine Science Ministers Association, and also I am an end-of-life practitioner, and I provide grief support. And with me is my colleague, Reverend Jeff Radcliffe, and of Giatti Ministries, and Bishop Durrell Watkins, minister of Sunshine Cathedral, and the president of the Divine Science Federation International. Now, we like to begin our show with a centering moment, so let's begin. As early as 1887, Melinda Elliott Kramer, co-founder of Divine Science, was teaching the spiritual principles that would shape new thought for generations to come. According to researcher Ruth F. Townsend, compiled by Joan Klein McCleary in the Foreword to Divine Science and Healing, Mrs. Kramer taught one of her first classes in the home of her friend Mary Fisk in 1887. There are records of both primary and normal classes in Denver in February 1889, October 1890, and February 1891. And later in 1891, she made an extensive teaching tour of the eastern United States, including Kansas City, where she taught over 300 primary students and 24 theological students under the auspices of Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, who were Unity's co-founders. The relationship between divine science, unity, and other new thought movements is rooted in this shared spiritual soil. So central to Melinda Kramer's message was this timeless truth: there is no unity without equality. The infinity and omnipresence of being, its actions and result, comprising the one self-existing all, include the equality of humanity with the divine as itself. Mm-hmm. As Jesus declared, I and my Father are one. So now I invite you to enter into a space of spiritual reflection. Allow your heart to settle in the timeless rhythm of being. Watching your breath flow gently in and gently out. Feeling yourself become fully present in this moment. With each breath you draw in the one life, you continue to draw in more of this one life because you are never separate from it. You're never apart from it. You are within it, and it is within you. There is no place where the sacred or the divine is not. We live and move and have our being in this divine energy, in this space, in this sacredness. So therefore, you are a sacred presence. Divine science teaches that the omnipresence of being means that all things are included. Nothing and no one is excluded. Again, as Melinda Kramer stated, there is no unity without equality. This means that the fullness of the divine is not reserved for a few. It is expressed as each of us. Remember, as Jesus said, I and the Father are one. This is true for me, for you, for everyone. It's not merely a proclamation. It is the truth of our soul, the truth of our being, the truth of our existence. So today, let us become more aware of this realization. I and the Father are one. I and the divine are one. There is no separation. You are not lacking. You are not less than. You are divine. So imagine that divine identity rises from within like a soft light, illuminating every part of you. Let that light touch your mind, bringing clarity. Let it rest in your heart, awakening compassion. Let it settle in your body as peace, wholeness, strength. Affirm gently to yourself, I am the visible expression of the invisible all. The invisible all expresses through me. The one life that lives through me, loves through me, leads through me. The one life that lives through you, loves through you, leads through you. I am whole, I am free, I am equal and at one with my source. You are whole, you are free, you are equal with your source. So, as we begin to return, let us consciously bring this light with us, remembering you are a radiant center in the infinite circle of life.
Mhm.
We affirm together there is no unity without equality. You and I and the infinite are one. And so it is.
So it is. Yes, amen. Thank you, Reverend Joy, for that centering time. I look forward to it every week. It's become a tradition, if you can have a tradition after only 15 weeks, but it's become a tradition of ours to do some sharing about New Thought luminaries. Um, Divine science also, but not limited to divine science. That's just our branch of of the movement, but it's all the same truth. And so we talk about New Thought broadly. And so the people I want to share with us today, the first one is, it'll be sort of a divine science sandwich. I'll begin and end with divine science. Alethea Brooks Small. She's sort of the Magda Gabor of the Brooks sisters. She's the one who's the least known, but was certainly part of the thing from the beginning. She actually died the same year Melinda Kramer did, in 1906. She was the sister of Nona Brooks and Fanny Brooks James, who, of course, with her were early pioneers in the divine science movement, coming just on the heels of Melinda Kramer. She encouraged Nona in her early leadership of divine science. And whereas Nona did a lot of writing and Fanny did a lot of deep writing, she's sort of the systematic theologian of divine science. I'm not aware of a lot of writing from Alethea, but she was on the ground doing a lot of practical work. Her husband was a business partner of Charles Fillmore before Charles and Myrtle founded Silent Unity. And so here's divine science, one of the earliest pioneers, in close relationship with the founders of Unity. They worked together. They would have dinner in each other's homes. And so I think, let's see, Melinda had her experience in 86. She started teaching about it in 87 and then started her college of divine science in 88. And so we use 88 as the beginning of divine science, but she'd actually been doing it for a couple of years. And then I think Unity was the following year. They were all about the same time, except for Ernest. Ernest, came way later. But so yeah, we don't hear a lot about Alethea. She didn't leave a written legacy, but she was part of it from the very beginning, and not just of divine science, but also connections to Unity. The next person I want us to remember, not divine science. In fact, he had his own system of metaphysics, and that's Reverend Ike. Frederick Ikeren Cotter. I never have been able to say it properly. The second, somebody else had that same name. But Reverend Ike, he died in 2009. He got a lot of flack from people who just called him a prosperity preacher or whatever. But what they never seemed to understand was he built a name and a movement and a community in a marginalized community that he gave people permission to feel empowered and to think that they deserve the very best and to believe that they can have the very best and to work for the very best. I think that's pretty radical and positive and wonderful. You may have thought his techniques were flashy, but if they weren't, we wouldn't be talking about him. We wouldn't have known what he was doing. But in any case, what he really thought was that health, wealth, good luck, harmonious relationships, and protection could all be achieved and experienced by those who practiced his system of metaphysics, which is just metaphysics. His seminary taught what he called the science of living, just like, science of mind and divine science. His was science of living. And his business institute was the home of Thinkonomics. His church in Washington Heights was big. They met I remember, because when I lived in New York, their services were at 3:30 in the afternoon. I thought even that was brilliant. Let people sleep in, let them recover from their hangover, let them get, a big brunch, and then have a fabulous worship experience. He believed that combining affirmative prayer with generous giving could result in the blessings you wanted, the blessings you needed. He taught, acknowledge the God in you and ask for guidance. And he said, your mind will work what seems like miracles to accomplish the good purpose you give it. Mm-hmm. And so that was, he was alive. He was a little bit extra, but he was also brilliant. And I actually like, I have his textbook. I think I have the primer of almost every New Thought tradition. And his is as good as all. He's really good. The next person you may not have heard of, and that's George Berkeley. George Berkeley died in 1753. He was born in the late 1600s. He was an Irish philosopher and an Anglican bishop. Well, usually we don't, reach back to Anglicanism for our New Thought ideas, except he was one of those renegades within mainstream systems. His theology was he believed that God is, and you've heard this before probably, maybe not from an Anglican bishop, but he believed that God is spiritual substance, and everything that is must be made of that same spiritual substance. He wrote, what humans thought to be substance is actually an idea in the mind of God. This is from an 18th century Anglican bishop. And then finally, back to divine science, the other piece of bread in our sandwich, Robert Winterhalter. He is one of the academics. You mentioned Ruth earlier. Robert Winterhalter was one of the academics of New Thought. And he died in 2010. So some of us actually knew him. And he was a divine science minister. He was the former president of the Divine Science School when it was in the Midwest before it moved to the East Coast. He was a published Bible scholar. In addition to New Thought training, he held degrees from Protestant seminaries, including, his master's degree was from Iliff, which is a Methodist seminary in Denver, a very famous seminary. And then his PhD was from actually an evangelical school, I believe in Kentucky. So, and yet he was a divine science minister. He authored 4 books that I know of, and that they are Jesus' Parables, Finding Our God Within, The Odes of Solomon, Original Christianity Revealed, The Healing Christ, and The Fifth Gospel, a verse-by-verse commentary on the Gospel of Thomas. Mm-hmm. So our tradition's pretty rich. We have all kinds of people, from the theatrical to the academic to the quiet behind-the-scenes people. And but we have a rich tradition, and I'm glad we get to share it a little bit on Fridays, because it's worth knowing about, I think. Yeah. If people want to chime in about that in a bit, when we're talking about everything else in the world, we're going to have a rowdy discussion with a superstar guest. But first, let's take a brief commercial break. We are Divine Science Everywhere here on the New Thought Media Network.
Wow, welcome back. I have the supreme honor of introducing our guest. Now, last week I wasn't here, and I'm thinking that maybe this is what Bishop Durrell and Reverend Joy cooked up to make up for the fact that I couldn't participate fully last week. But thank you. It's awesome to be back. I have known our guest for years on Facebook. Her first book, How to Talk to God, which Bishop Durrell talked about earlier, is required reading for not only divine science practitioners, but for ministers. It should be ministers as well. I used to read it every year faithfully, at least once a year. She is the winner of the 2001 Best Spiritual Author Competition, Linda Martella Whitsett. She is an inspiring, respected unity minister. She's a spiritual teacher. She is a New Thought leader. She is a truth teller, and she tells it like it is. Her message about our divine identity inspires people across cultures and faith traditions to meet life circumstances with spiritual maturity. Reverend Linda has served as the leader of Unity's 24/7 Silent Unity Prayer Ministry. She is a senior minister, or was senior minister for Unity of San Antonio, and she has served various roles in the Unity Church in Omaha. She's taught classes at Unity Village as well as other Unity churches, and has mentored trainees in the field licensing program. Her books are how to pray without talking to God, moment by moment, choice by choice. Her second book, This Life is Yours. And her third book, Divine Audacity, Dare to Be the Light of the World. They're all available on Amazon. And I have to tell you, if you want some good ass kicking truth, you'll read these books, because my friend Linda Bartell, like I said, she is it. Welcome, Reverend Linda. We get to see each other online all the time. We cross paths. We attend Zoom meetings, and for different things. But we have yet to meet in person, and you have got the world's biggest hug coming your way when that finally happens. So welcome our home.
I'm just delighted. I was so tickled to receive the invitation, and I'm so glad that I'm available and we can have a robust conversation.
Yeah. Now, you kind of you kick against the goad, as Paul put it. You kind of sort of, you're rogue in a lot of ways. You challenge the generally accepted thinking of New Thought. And I will tell you, you put something in your last book that hammered it home for me like you wouldn't believe. We hear so many people say, well, God expresses through us. God in us, as us, is it, us. And that, there's truth in that. But God is not a personage. God's not we anthropomorphize God when we do that. It's us expressing that divinity. And it wasn't until I read Divine Audacity that hit me like a ton of bricks. How'd you come to that?
Oh, you spoke of it. I don't know why, if this is a blessing or a curse to be a kind of person that questions everything. I mean, it was hard doing that in Catholic elementary school. I'll tell you that. It was very hard being a questioner. I was shut down and shut down and shut down. And, it wasn't until young adulthood that I stopped shutting up about it, right? That I started really like forging my inquisitiveness is boundless. And I had been raised in Roman Catholicism as the one and only church. And so to discover other paths, to discover there's more to learn, it just made me hungry. And so I question every unityism, right? I question every New Thought refrain that I've heard and internalized over and over and over again. And I keep asking myself, is that true? Is there a way to say that I can really say that means something to me? Because otherwise it's just a lot of words and it's conceptual. But does this really impact me? Does this change the way I understand my life and my purpose and my belief? And if not, then maybe there's more to chew on about that. So yes, I'll have to tell you, my first book, How to Pray Without Talking to God.
There you go.
I'll tell you what, I've had so much fun with this book because this was 12, 13 years ago. This was published. And back in that day, man, it was against the grain. You said something like that. It rubbed up against people's known theology, against their embedded theologies, right? And I heard one minister say, I gave this to all my prayer team, my prayer chaplains, and one of them took it home, read the first chapter, threw it in the trash can. I said, well, she could have at least given it back to you. You could have given it to someone else. But I've had wild chasms of response, you could say. And it's really exciting today at this point, many, many years into this work that I've done, I'm not getting that kind of pushback any longer. I mean, I think I feel like, and I'm not honking my own horn here as much as saying, I think my consciousness, what's been growing in my consciousness is what's growing, right? It's not just me. Right. I'm able to be like, I guess you could say, a speaker of that word, right? A way of explaining it for people who are right there on the edge of a breakthrough understanding. So, I mean, it's really very interesting. But yes, I am question everything.
I want to expand on that for just a minute, if you don't mind, because I was thinking about this. I think about it off and on, and I was thinking about it a lot just a few days ago. A lot of ministers will get out there in their pulpit or whatever platform that they have, and they say, well, especially when it comes to Bible interpretation or whatever, but metaphysics in general, we're looking at the truth behind the obvious. But it occurred to me that maybe the truth that I'm seeing behind the obvious is not exactly the same truth that somebody else is seeing. So I can't say with any real authority, this is what this means, and this is what that means. I mean, and I will draw on religious science minister Hayhouse.
Louise Hay.
Thank you, Louise Hay. Drew a blank. Everybody goes to her book about healing your body. These are what your symptoms mean. Well, I'm sorry, not all of it adds up for me because of my consciousness and my experiences and things of that nature. Sometimes this does not equal this, but everybody goes to her as the truth of it.
And she got it from Emma, who was writing in a whole different time. So
right.
So how do you because you're looking at things and seeing beyond what everybody else is seeing to come up with such wonderful gems. So I don't know if there's anything that you can add to that.
Well, I have great respect for those who've come before me and who I've studied their work and I've read, but every single one of them, as far as I remember, every single one of them points to finding the truth within ourselves. Every one of them says, don't just believe me. I feel the same way. Don't just believe me. I mean, the first time I entered a yoga class, that's what they said. This is a sgoing you check it out for yourself. You see what's useful about this for you. You take what works and you're going to make this your own. And that's just how I do it. And I believe, I trust that in everyone else. I mean, we're all in different places. It's kind of difficult because people often see me as the prayer police. That's their mention. And I have to say many times, I am not a prayer police. Any way you want to pray, as long as it's authentic and as long as it's meaningful to you and doing something for you, why would I have a problem with that? What I'm teaching is very specific because I have found its effectiveness. I have found how useful it is and how different it is from anything else I've ever done that has transformed my own understanding and my own sense of what I am and what's possible for me. And so that's why I teach this, just check it out. That's the best I can say.
And we are so grateful to have you here with us. It's we're down at the bottom of the hour. We need to take a break.
We can keep going. I expected this to be a lot going on, and so we're not scheduled for a break until about 10 off. So we could interrupt, but I just figured we didn't probably want to this time. So
let's not interrupt them because this is good stuff. What do you got?
I bring back questions. I'm like, wait, if we take a break, that might remove one of my questions.
Well, okay, so ask a question because I am fascinated to know what you want to know that Reverend Linda is going to give us.
Well, there's two things. First of all, just we sort of attract our people. The people who belong together, come together, stay together for the glory of truth or whatever. And so I seem to attract a lot of people who have moved beyond theism.
Right.
They don't, and we don't often say this, but New Thought is not theistic. It's just not. We don't have a God out there somewhere. We have the presence, we have the power. It's in us. We're part of it. Whatever, but we don't have a God out yonder somewhere that we're trying to get to, and so we are. And so this appeals once you can speak it in not sort of fancy, woogie 19th century super spiritual language. People, it makes sense to people, and the glass. So I get a lot of agnostics and monists. New Thought is largely monist, spiritual humanists, panentheists, all these people, and it's because It's because they have found this. Oh, I can ask my questions. I can seek, and I don't have to declare anything that isn't true for me. I don't have to recite a creed. I don't have to accept a savior. I don't have to believe anything about any particular ritual. I can figure it out. And so that's very appealing to non-theists because, but you sort of model, tell your truth. And my truth is, we're really not theists. You can be, come and you can be an atheist, you can be a theist, you can be whatever. We don't care. If you like us, we like you. But what you're hearing is not going to be what you would hear in a Methodist church. It's just not. So that's the first thing. But the second thing I want to ask you, and this is not like to compare, like someone's better or someone's smart or whatever. It's just, how is it different? Because before you, Hypatia Housebrook was my go-to. Mm-hmm. And I just want to know how now, and I keep her on the list. You can read if you want to, but you surpassed her in what I recommend. But how do you think your method, your technique, your explanation is different from hers? Assuming that they're both perfect in their way and they both feed people, but how is yours different?
Well, for one, her language is very dated, right? It's a long time ago. And this is what I faced against when I was grappling with prayer. And that's why How to Pray Without Talking to God got written. I was struggling, right? Here I am, a Unity minister in front of my congregation, and I'm hearing coming out of my mouth, "Dear Mother, Father, God, oh, precious Spirit," and all this. And I'm doing what I had learned, what was patterned in me in Unity ministry. And I mean, I almost choked on the words that one day. It just gripped me like, what are you talking about? I mean, this message has gotten in me, the message of oneness, the message of I am that. And I'm like, this is totally not it. This is totally not authentic prayer. But then I'm like, but how do I pray? Because there was no modeling for that, right? I mean, you go to Hypatia, it's all over the place. It goes from, there's definitely oneness. You can find it in there, but there's lots of, God out there. There's lots of mixed messages. Mm-hmm. And that was true with all those early writers, and then it occurred to me, my goodness, in a movement, a new thought movement, and in Unity, especially where the pronouncement is prayer is the center of everything we do. There's not one textbook on how to do it. There's like no textbook on how to pray. I mean, so I was reading Hypatia, I was reading the Fillmores, I was reading Butterworth, I was reading, all the old texts, and they all had beautiful gems. They all had things that I was coming to see were I call the prime principle, oneness, the prime principle. And but they also had all kinds of other stuff, that harken back to Christianity, to religion of the past kind of thing. And so I studied and I picked and I questioned and I led a whole study in my community. I did everything I could to try to bring to the present. What is this? And I lost my God. I mean, I disconnected from an anthropomorphic figure entirely. I disconnected from even power that gives me power, right? Something outside of me, or as I like to call it in my evolutionary account in this book, I got to a place where, from my Unity background, where the message was the guru is within, I had that image of the God is within, but it was like the incredible shrinking God, right? It was a separate God, but it was in there and it was talking to me, but that's not me then. If it's talking to me, it's not me. You see what I'm saying? And it was like all that confusion just sort of bubbled in me. And I just worked and worked and worked with it and started to reach new conclusions. And I'll have to say, the first book is not the end of that inquiry, because the latest book, Discover Your Divinity, co-authored with my colleague, Reverend Deanne Morency, this is the textbook that had not been written that instructs on prayer, the affirmative prayer process as a flow in consciousness, as an expansion of consciousness, thus the spirals, right? Thus the unfolding of truth and awareness, an expansion of awareness where I end up forever newly understanding something that's important for me to move forward with. And so to me, I don't know what's different about that from Hypatia, but it's really based on Unity's teachings of the creative process. I think it's a universal new thought process, right? The creative process, divine mind, divine idea, divine expression, right? That's what the prayer flow is based on. It's not something we created. I didn't make this up. I just kind of pulled it together from the body of studies I had done and from the knowledges and my own direct experience over time. And tried my best to be able to describe it in a way that it could be useful.
Cool.
I love that you say you lost your God.
I lost that God.
That
right?
God, the God of that before. And there was a rabbinical tradition that says the spiritual life is it's just about destroying one idol after another. You destroy an idol and you find a bigger idol. You think it's God, but it's just a bigger, better idol. And then you destroy that one. And it's like, so every time you think you found it, as long as there's an it, it's not it.
Right.
But that's the tradition. It's like destroying these gods that are no longer big enough because you can define them. So they're not good enough.
Yeah. And I will say to you too, that I have written very directly in the preface of a couple of these books, I am a non-religious minister.
Yes.
I am a non-theist. I couldn't be more clear about that because I'm really not, I'm not confined to unity. I'm not confined to any tradition. I'm a graduate of Catholicism and I am a graduate of most other disciplines. Not that I feel like I'm an expert on any of those things, but that I personally do not need the riverbanks of the tenets of those disciplines in order for me to know me and to know what I am and what my life is about. So, yeah, a little across the grain that way.
Well, that's great. I wanted to go back to the idea that if we're experiencing discomfort in our body, disease or whatever, and then for some people, the need to know what is the cause. And then not only maybe you're judging yourself, but others are judging you. And that seems to be rooted in an old belief system, old religiosity. Maybe it comes from New Thoughters that had a previous background in religions. And I notice that it's so embedded in society, this, finger pointing and things and forgetting the compassion. And I'd like you to speak to that about how an experience such as maybe physical disease or discomfort or a challenge can lead to spiritual growth.
Oh, yes. Oh, I have lots of stories. And I'll tell you that the third book I wrote with my daughter during the pandemic, This Life is Yours. This is a book that says, it might feel like something is missing, wrong, or broken about you or about your life, but that can never be the truth if you know this prime principle, oneness, if you subscribe to that. And that means you are whole, and the whole you travels through your human experiences and arrives whatever comes next, still whole. Hard to know that when you're in the middle of some symptoms or other upsets, right? I can't think of a more life-changing for me circumstance in my human experience. I've written about it in a couple of my books, but this is an example. How many people come up to me after I've spoken at their church about something like this and say, I have a fracture in my family, our relationships are broken, I haven't seen my daughter in 4 years and I just want her back in my life. Those things. Well, when I married my husband, Giles, who is of African descent, my dad disowned me. This was in 1979, right? Long time ago. We've been married 46 years now. And, he literally just cut me off. I was kicked out of the family. I had no contact with him for 9 years, during which time both of our children were born. He had never met Giles, never met the children. It was a real you can imagine the heart-wrenching experience for me. And yet I was steeped in a yoga practice and a budding unity practice that had me commit to the most deep spiritual practices of my life because I needed them, right? And my discipline became, in addition to like writing, because I was always a writer, and I would write in some nasty letters and never mail them. Of course, they stayed in my journal, but I would also write him letters telling him about my life and pleading and all that. And I did mail those. Never heard back from him. When my maternal grandmother died, I flew back to Philadelphia for the funeral. I walk in the funeral home. My dad walked out the other door. That's how it was, right? If I would call from Honolulu and they were in Philadelphia, if he picked up the phone, he would put the phone down on the table, and my mother would just kind of walk around. And if she saw that the phone was off the hook, she'd pick it up and talk to me. Otherwise, if she wasn't there, he'd hang up. This is just to give you an idea of this is what I had. This is the circumstance. But so my work spiritually, I knew, was that divine love was the binding power. It's the unifying power. It's the power of oneness. And I clung to that, and I practiced it with discipline in my daily meditation. And I developed a habit of bringing my Father's presence into my imagination and had him sit across from me. And many times nothing was going on with that. I just wanted to establish that I am present. He is present. We are one. And 9 years of practice. And the day did come when I remember feeling like all the things I knew about him just started peeling away in my imagination. The harsh disciplinarian that he was, the Italian papa, the misogynist, the racist, all the things I had accounted to him, all peeled away. And what was left in front of me was a frightened little boy longing for love. And in that instant, I recognized myself. I and he, we are one. No different. And I remember coming from that amazing discovery to saying to him, with all my heart, I don't need anything from you. I am whole. I am whole. And I wish you to be well. I want only what is good for you. You don't need to change. You don't need to do another thing. I'm okay. And in that, I healed. I healed myself. So it might not be a surprise that just months later, I'm talking just months later, my mother called and said, I know there was a healing for our family. And the next thing I know, my father was on the phone with me when I called on Thanksgiving morning and begged my forgiveness, sent plane tickets for me and my husband and the kids to go back to Philadelphia for Christmas, first time in years and years. And I knew in that instant, it was divine love. It was my practice of love. You say love cuts through it all. Love does it. But it's my practice of that love, my embodiment of love. It's not magic. It's not magic. It's intention and it's practice and it's insistence on the highest truth. And when I write pretty boldly, as Jeff will attest to, when I do that, it's come because I've been that tough on myself. I insist on cleaning up my consciousness when I have an issue. And that's, if it's a physical condition, I want to talk to this too, because this is so important. Those messages from the past, they come from embedded theology. Absolutely they do. And the crossover from traditional Christianity for those early metaphysicians into metaphysics, they translated it. And it's the same damn injustice. It's the same malpractice to say, instead of God punishing you, you're punishing yourself. You did it to yourself. It's just bull. It's crap. And it is, to me, intolerable that we could still hear that today. So I'm really glad to be a part of the movement forward that says, I am 100% human and I am 100% divine. And the total of that is 100%. That's 100%. That's wholeness. And I am not going to kick my humanity out of that kingdom. I'm just not. My feelings, my experience, my human conditions, they're part of the gift of the fullness of life. And they inform my spirituality, and my spirituality informs my humanity. It's an unbroken figure eight. It's an unbroken. Sometimes I'm behaving as a human, and I darn well better be when I'm behind the wheel of my car, right? I remember once playing meditation music driving, and I spun out on the road because I went out somewhere, right? I got to be human. I got to be walking around as a human when I'm doing things in three-dimensional experience. And I trip out into my spirituality when I want to figure out how to inform my human of what to do next, of how to think about things, about, right? How to respond to my life. So to me, the kindness of accepting all of what I am is so important that I cannot be whole spiritually without my humanity. And this is something that, for one, I noticed right away when I entered Unity, that because I'd come from yoga, which is a very physical practice, right? A very embodied practice. And I'm like, nobody's talking about the body. And as I read Fillmore, I saw why, because Fillmore was going back to the Vedas, right? To the ancient scriptures that gave the impression the body is just the body's just an effect. It's not real. It's not real. It's like lower class. The body's lower class. And so don't deal with your body, deal with your spirit, right? The total separation that causes in a movement called Unity or New Thought just blows my mind. This blows my mind.
And if spirit is all there is, your body, I mean, how is there a difference?
Yeah. And I think, our this human field is such a playground. It's such a field. But, the Hindus always said it's Maya, it's illusion, it's not real. But it's real when your feet are burning on hot asphalt. You better believe it's real. It's a real experience, right? So anyway, that's my latest sort of tirade, right? And one more just like it. You sort of spoke to it earlier. We are human. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. I disagree.
Yes.
I disagree. Because if I'm a spiritual experience, I don't have that human experience. I am human. I am human, and I am spiritual. I mean, again, any way to discount or diminish our physicality and the importance of our physicality is, to me, a grievous error.
But we stole that. Though, didn't we, from traditional Christianity?
Oh,
it was Chardin who said that, a Roman Catholic who said it, and then we act like it's a New Thought thing. No, that wasn't whatever.
And again, it's sort of such a passive way. It's a passive way of saying God is acting through me, like I'm the hollow vessel. No.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that's why I am very grateful for Emma Curtis Hopkins, who came out of Christian Science, and here's Mary Baker Eddy saying, you know what, this physical stuff, it's not real. And people couldn't get that. And and that's what Nona had said originally in some of her early writings, that we could not understand how you could say that is not a table when we're looking at it and we're seeing it and we're feeling it, we're touching it. It's a table. How can there not be the physical? That, I think, is the mystery of New Thought, that we can be both at the same time.
We
And
are
you
that.
bring
We
that,
are that.
bring
Yeah.
that,
We've had
bring
that
out
doctrine
so well.
forever in Christianity, but we just limited it to one person.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't supposed to be this super, like he was. That's the
The only one.
demonstration that's
Yeah.
who we are. That's what we all are.
Yeah.
All God, all
Yeah.
human, all the time.
And really, and you spoke about this earlier, Jeff, that really God is not an actor. If we really understand it, God is power itself. It's infinite love, life, all the aspects that you could speak about of that. That's
Yeah.
what God is. There's no human, there's no personality, there's no capricious being, there's none of that inherent. And so why is that important? Because I can actually relate to that. I can actually see that in myself. Whereas I can't see some external deity in myself. And this is why we've all been confused for generations over this.
Okay.
And you said something earlier that struck me, because it's been years of my overcoming this idea that I can't be who I am because that's not spiritual. But there's no such thing as is not spiritual, because it's all spiritual, because it's all spirit. So I don't have to worry about dropping an F-bomb once in a while. I know that it freaks out some people. We just need to get over it. It's just Reverend Jeff expressing Reverend Jeffness.
Yeah.
And I love that. And you helped me so much to get past that. Thank you.
Well,
I consider myself an irreverent.
Nice.
Right?
Y'all, we are now for real bumping up against the time situation.
Oh, yeah.
That human construct we call time. It's at New Thought Media Network. It's real enough, though. We're approaching the top of the hour. But I do, before we take our commercial break, I want to give you a chance to do one. Would you tell us again your newest book?
Oh, sure. The latest book is Discover Your Divinity. The subtitle is A Modern Guide to Affirmative Prayer. So this is a guide for how to build your own prayer practice, right? And how to understand like what's happening in prayer if you really practice it. And then it also has a whole section on how to pray with others, which has been so much needed throughout the movement. So a lot of the prayer teams that pray with others in their communities also study this. And if you're going to study this, I'm going to say the companion book that's a must is Divine Audacity. Because Divine Audacity gives explanations of at least a lot of our spiritual capacities that we can see and realize are the truth, are the source, right? The infinity that we call God, but they can be embodied. We can practice them and embody them.
Now, you've just spent an hour. I don't know if you've been doing practitioner work or spiritual counseling or teaching or coaching, what you've been doing. But what if someone wants more of it? How can they reach out to you to get more one-on-one, whatever this is, more of it?
Well, my website is so this is the letter U, r-divine.com.
You are divine.
Very simple. UR-divine.com, or just Google my name and my website will come up. I speak around the spiritual movement, either in person and online, depending upon the invitation. I teach online as well as in person. I love to teach prayer teams, prayer chaplains, this methodology and help them to really grow in their capacity and consciousness development. The book that I'm very proud of is the one that Alicia, who was raised in Unity, she's 42 today, but she, her voice in this book, what's happened when you're in times of healing, how can you hold to what's true so that you give yourself the chance to, practice the principles that will allow you to walk through the difficulty in your life so that you can, so it's not just magical thinking. You're not just begging for kind of thing.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot real quick, and I'm sorry, real quick, just to put you on the spot. You've written 4 books.
Yes.
If you were to, if somebody were to come up and say, "How should I read these? What order should I read them in?" What order would you put them in
Well,
tell
the first one is for anybody who's just traveling over that bridge from more tradition
Right.
to more new thought. This is a good book for evolution of that, right? And then I would say Divine Audacity, because this wakes people up to like, what's inside of me? What can I do in practice, right? And if they're going through healing, I would start with This Life Is Yours, obviously, right? So that's kind of how I would lay it out. And I'll tell you, I also do spiritual coaching. I know, Joy, you had asked me about that earlier. And that comes usually from people who've read one or more of my books and they want to work deeper with something going on. So it's definitely spiritually focused. It's focused on the messages, as I've come to what I know, right? What I have expertise in, because it's what I know and practice.
Okay, please don't go away. We're going to be right back, and we'll say goodbye to our guests and to each other. And as again, the hour has just flown by. This is Divine Science Everywhere on New Thought Media Network.
Welcome back. So I'd like to tell you that next week our guest is Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse, and the following week, Reverend Dr. Bill Marcioni. So we're really looking forward to that, and I want to thank you personally, Reverend Linda, for being with us today and sharing this space. We're very, very grateful. And thank you to my co-host and Bishop Robert that's helping us with production. And thank you, every one of you, for joining us on this broadcast. And be sure to like us and to come back. So remember that divine science everywhere means that God is in all, through all, as all. So until next time, we are Divine Science Everywhere on New Thought Media Network.
Bye.
Goodbye.